Hello, folks, empathy heroes, feely humans. It's me, Known Wells, creator of Yumi Empathy. Today's show is with Jordana Reim. We are talking about meditation and yoga and mindfulness. It's a good one, you guys. We even go through a breathing exercise during the episode, which is great. Just a good anxiety buster. So I really hope you enjoy it. I certainly did. The disclaimer for the show is Yumi Empathy is for informational and or entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Okie dokie artichokes. I hope you enjoy this episode with my guest Jordana Reim on meditation, yoga, and mindfulness. Thanks for empathizing with us, guys.
La 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 la. You, me, empathy, yeah. La la la.
Hello. Hey guys, have you left Yumi Empathy a review and rating in iTunes? What? Do my ears deceive me? Did you say no? What? Come on, guys. It's very easy. I feel like I'm being a nag, and for that, I feel shame. But prove me wrong. I'd love to see some more ratings and reviews in iTunes for Yumi Empathy. It's a very small way to help out the show and, just potentially get some more ear holes and hearts on this podcast that I care deeply about, and I hope you care deeply about as well. If you want to connect with me or be on the show, you can email me, yumiempathy@gmail.com. You can connect with us on Twitter and Instagram at yumiempathy. We also have a Facebook community at facebook.com/groups/yumiempathy. And lastly, we have a Patreon page where you can get stickers, access to the full Yumi Empathy music track from David Grabowski, and potentially be a guest, all sorts of good stuff. Check that out, patreon.com/Yumi Empathy. And back to the show. Welcome to episode 10 of Yumi Empathy, a podcast about exploring the struggles we face in our day-to-day lives as humans trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of Yumi Empathy is to talk openly, without judgment, about our neuroses, our mental illnesses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire conversation and insight so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being human. Yumi Empathy is a safe space, a conversation between friends, a place to inspire the empathy and beauty in all of us. Today, in episode 10, I'm nestled joyfully in the Zen zone, continuing this empathy journey on the topic of meditation, yoga, and mindfulness with champion of the peaceful pauses and trained subconscious dweller, Jordana Reim. Hi, Jordana.
Hey, Noan. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm very happy to have you. We are connecting via Skype right now from California to Thailand, which is very exciting for me.
It's exciting for me too, because I live in California when I'm not traveling and I miss it.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're from LA area?
I'm actually from the East Coast of the States, but I have a home in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm just south. I live in the city of Orange, so I'm about an hour south of Los Angeles.
The OC, as they say.
They do say that.
Do they still say that? Do they?
I don't think people who live here say it, but some people said it. And at one point, it was a television show where someone said,
"That's right,"
very distastefully, "Welcome to the OC, bitch." So
Is that what they said?
that's what they said. Yep. Yep.
Oh, goodness.
I know.
Okay, well, I'm from New Jersey originally, and there was a TV show called The Jersey Shore, which
Uh-huh.
gave everyone a very clear impression of what people from New Jersey are like.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Our TV shows do a good job as sort of focusing on the real people, as we say.
Or the negative, really.
Yeah,
It's
really the
because
negative.
it makes for good television.
Yep.
It's too bad.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to really explore meditation and yoga, worlds that I really don't know much about, and I'm excited to explore that with you. But before we get into that, I always like to start the show with just a check-in. Just check in with yourself. How was your week? How are you feeling this week?
Oh, great question. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling loving. And I'm feeling alive.
Wow. All lovely things.
Pretty much. Vulnerable is a tough one.
It is.
I'm living in Thailand now, and I've just started a new job. I'm about almost 2 weeks into this job working at a wellness and detox center. And I've been defining the job with my coworkers as I go. And that is tough. I can do a lot of different things, and I like doing a lot of different things. And so figuring out what things add the most value that fill me up as well so that I can give as much as possible. I've got to also set boundaries. So I'm playing this game with that while I'm in this transition of having just come to Thailand and starting a new job. So that's exciting, but it's also it's vulnerable as well, and I want to do a really great job. So I'm in the midst of balancing that.
That's a lot to take. I mean, that's quite the stark difference from New Jersey or LA to Thailand, I'd imagine.
Yeah, well, I've been traveling it's been nearly a year. I'm coming up on 1 year in February, and I actually had no idea that I would be gone for this long. Maybe the slightest idea in my subconscious that I might be gone for this long. But I left in February of last year thinking that I would go to India for 4 to 6 weeks. I'd complete another yoga teacher training. And then I was going to come back and start a very fancy corporate job again. I was interviewing to be a vice president at a company that I really admire. And when it came down to it, it's so funny. I was living on an ashram, a very small ashram in southern India, studying yoga. And I'm crouched in the bathroom, the only area where I had cell service, talking to the president of media for a multi-million-dollar company. And we're negotiating my job. And, what it came down to is that we couldn't really reach a negotiation that felt right. And I was devastated because I was looking for the perfect ending to my story. And my story, and we've all got long stories, but my story around career is that I was an executive producer in Los Angeles for about 5 years before I left to pursue things that I love, like yoga and meditation and writing and leading retreats, exploration. And I'd been doing that for about a year when I was approached by this really big company that I admire. And I wanted this to be the meeting of my worlds, which is this media world and the yoga world. And this job, to me, was this perfect bow that I was going to tie on my story. And it didn't work out. Yeah, it didn't work out. And so there I was in India, barefoot on an ashram.
What is an ashram?
An ashram is a place where you work and study and They're all sort of different, but a lot of ashrams you can, learn yoga or just live there. But sometimes they're family run or they're organizationally run. So
Okay.
everybody does karma yoga on an ashram, which is they pitch in some way. It's similar to like kibbutz in Israel.
Okay.
You know what that is? Yeah, it's kind of where everyone is pitching in a
Yeah.
sense. And they tend to be a bit removed, a little bit off the grid, different way of thinking than if you're not living like in a condominium or even really a house. Accommodations are always different, but more or less, this ashram was it had about 20 people there, and they did some Ayurveda, and they had a yoga school, and they had a garden. And that was about it. So it was very small. I felt quite confined there. And when I first arrived, I was kicking and screaming. I wanted to get right back on the plane to California. And like really, truly, I had a panic attack that lasted for 9 hours.
Wow.
And like nothing. It was one of the worst nights of my life. I wasn't expecting to feel that way. And it's something that I've learned about transition, and I continue to learn about transition. I love transitions and I hate them. I'm a transition coach with people, and I use tools like meditation and yoga and pranayama and life mapping and goal setting to help people through transitions, like some of the ones that I've been through, but I live it.
Yeah.
And it was actually a test of mine, was to see what's it like to go from living on the Venice canals to living on an ashram in India where they ask you to bring your own plate for food, right? So I'm like packing my bags and I'm bringing my own white dinner plate. And I'm thinking, what am I getting myself into? And I really had no idea. I had no idea that I was coming to a place where people really didn't speak English quite well. And I was in a room that had no windows. There were tons of mosquitoes. There was no AC. They only gave me one roll of toilet paper, and they told me that I would have to go find more if I needed it. And I was so scared. I was so scared.
That's
Oh
the
my
most
goodness.
terrifying part of all.
You're in India and you only have one roll of toilet paper. Like, because you know that, like, as Americans, we think that we're going to go to India and we're going to get sick immediately and be stuck on the toilet. And so that was my fear. And so when I had the panic attack, I didn't want to cry because I was afraid that I was going to use up my toilet paper and then I wouldn't have it for when I was going to get food poisoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's a little bit about transitions and India and getting,
I love it.
That doesn't really get me to where I am now in Thailand, but that's where I started my travels.
Sure.
And
We will definitely get to where you're at now for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a year.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I'd imagine that for anyone, something like that, a transition like that would be quite jarring. Going from, I mean, even if you're like yourself, into that world, yoga, meditation, adventuring around, backpacking or what have you, some of those things that I have experienced with backpacking and whatnot, even having some of that, jumping into that world has got to be pretty tough for anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, it's what I call 180. It's something completely different out of our paradigm. And we can choose to learn a lot in that shift. And sometimes it slaps us in the face.
Yes,
but
it does.
That's the work. That's the work.
That is the work, and those are the learning opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that had I even just been gone for 1 month, not 12, having had an experience like that changed me forever.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's put a pause on that for just a moment. while I talk about myself.
Yes.
Well, I'm deeply curious about how you got to where you're at now, and your journey in Thailand, and 180 retreats and all this wonderful stuff that you're doing. I just wanted to do a quick check-in for myself. Today, so this week, for some reason, it was like a heavy anxiety week. And some of the listeners know that I started up yoga again last week. I'm taking a yoga class. And that is really healing for me. And it is very meditative for me. And I do enjoy it quite a bit. For some reason, I woke up this morning and just felt, I sort of reverted back to my like depressive state, feeling kind of hopeless. And a couple hours ago, it was before, I had work today, and I chatted with my wife, Jessica, and she said, "Oh, why don't you try to meditate for a little while, just for 20 minutes or something?" And so I did that, and it helped quite a bit. I'm not practiced at meditation, but it's something I've tried before in the past, and I think for me, I need experiences that get me out of my head a little bit, and I tend to just be very distracted and fidgety and high anxiety, and so more of that practice is better for me. But so I started the day feeling kind of hopeless, and with some meditation, and now talking with you, Jordana, I'm feeling better.
That's great. So what meditation did you do?
I just, I had literally like 20 minutes before my next meeting. I work from home. So so I downloaded the Calm app, and it just took me through a basic like 12-minute meditation. I don't know if that means anything to you.
Like a guided meditation.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's nice. And how was it for you?
It takes work, as you know, with anything,
Mm-hmm.
it takes practice and effort. But because I do wander quite frequently, my mind wanders quite frequently. So it is a challenge, but it's something I certainly see benefits in, and just sort of mucking my way through those 12 minutes, I could see, some mental clarity and calm benefits even in that experience. So I'm going to try to keep doing it.
Yeah, that's so great. It's so great that your wife mentioned to do that, and that you did it, and that you stuck with that, even though your mind was wandering, because that is the practice, and it gets easier over time. But also the effects of meditation, even if the mind is wandering, all of that compounds over time. So, 12 minutes today and 12 minutes tomorrow and the next day and the next day, over time, you'll feel the effects much more profoundly outside of the meditations. And the idea, in meditation is not to ignore our thoughts, not to try to push them away, but it's just to be the witness of the thoughts. And so because we're never going to stop our thoughts. If
Sure.
we stopped our thoughts, then, we wouldn't be. But it's to see the thoughts that are coming up and to recognize that they're there, and to still just be you, and the thoughts not being part of you. So it's the separation between you and these thoughts, because you're not those thoughts. You're something much, much greater than that. And so meditation can be a tool to help you be the witness in your life and to see your movie.
Yeah. Sure. I love movies.
Yeah. Well, you're starring in the very best one, which is your life.
So I'm an action hero? Super.
Are you?
I could be all the things. I could be a
What are
super
you?
spy. Who knows? Who knows what I am? Yeah, I like that perspective. That's a really helpful perspective. So thank you for that.
Of course. Of course. And then the yoga is great as well. I mean, to move the body it's so helpful in getting rid of, like, we've got all of these, what they say, vrittis in yoga, which are vibrations of the mind, or the mind stuff, as they say, which is really just like thoughts and things that move around the mind that make our minds spin.
Mm-hmm.
And we can move our bodies to help us move things through the mind. And the idea of asana or yoga poses is to help us open up our bodies to open up the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so that we can sit in meditation.
Sure.
Yeah. So they're beautiful practices to pair with each other. And that was my way in to meditation was through yoga, but it took me many years of doing yoga before I got into meditation. So you're really ahead of it, like doing yoga and meditation at the same time. It's going to be very beneficial for you, I think.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I hope so. So let's get into your story, Jordana. I'm curious about, obviously I want to talk about what you're doing now in Thailand and how you got there, but I want to backtrack, if I may, to maybe your origin story. Not your whole life, but like what, you had mentioned you were working this, sort of highly working in this sort of, working in LA at this sort of corporate environment. Even before that, I want to like delve into like, what do you think brought you to where you are now? Are there maybe moments in your life, snapshots in your life that have led you to where you are now? Maybe experiences as a child or as a young adult that that have sort of stuck with you and brought you to the place you are now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think what I'm feeling in your question is a lot about the path, because we all have a path.
Yeah.
And we kind of walk sometimes straight on that path, and sometimes we walk a little bit to the left or to the right, and then there's a clue that gets us back onto the path and some of those clues, right?
Absolutely,
I think that's what you're asking about.
Yeah.
Because I think that we're all conditioned from the time that we're born, and from the beliefs that our parents have and the beliefs of the people we grow up around. And so and it's not that I didn't enjoy working in a corporate environment, which is where I started, but I had a journey with yoga that started before my jobs in New York City and Los Angeles. And when I was about 18 or 19, I discovered yoga in college and found that it was something that I felt like I was good at, that I had no idea that I could be good at something that was athletic, because I was not an athletic person.
Mm-hmm.
I was an academic. And it started to open up a lot for me in just even learning new postures and the stillness in between poses, and the shavasana, which is the final relaxation pose at the end, actually having permission in a what I thought was an exercise class to just be.
Yeah.
That was this moment of like, wow, that's so cool. We get to rest.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel the same way.
I love this. Yeah. Yeah. So that started when I was, 18 or 19, but it was never something that I thought would be a pursuit, maybe until a couple years later. I graduated from school with a management degree and a marketing concentration, and I was determined to work in entertainment and have a really sexy job that people looked up to me for, and where I got to go to movie premieres and things like that. And I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked quite hard at that and wanted to just continue to work my way up. And really a lot of it was about making money for me, because I felt like growing up that I didn't have everything that I wanted, and that money was between me and, having a car, or between me and having the new outfit, or between me and being able to go out to dinner and buy anything that I wanted. And so I really looked at money as a way of being independent, but I also wanted to have this sexy job so that people looked at me like I was great. And so that's what I did. I got the sexy job and I worked really hard at it. And I think I doubled my income within a year, and then probably tripled it within 3 years.
Wow.
And yeah. And, I was making six figures by the time I was 24. And then it just, went up from there. And I was working on stuff that I actually quite really liked. I was working on Nike digital for a while. But that was also a really interesting point for me, too, when I was working on Nike, because Nike is all about being your best.
Sure.
And being a great athlete. And they encouraged me I was inspired by the work on Nike to, work out more. And I actually got even more into my yoga. And that's when I did my first yoga teacher training, was when I was producing for Nike.
Okay.
And it forced me to leave work at a reasonable time on Tuesdays and Thursdays because I had to go to class. And that was like this sigh of relief, because I was such a type A that I would work until, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, every night, sometimes later. And having to leave at 5:30 was both very scary to me and very amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another turning point. And then there was this point when my boss on the Nike account asked me that question. Do you know what that question is? Big question.
Is it
that big life question?
Are you taking this serious, or the question that came to mind when you said that last part was because I've been in environments like that, and the pressure to be on all the time is very high. I can't imagine at that level, but the question that came to my mind was, is she getting pressure from her bosses to, like, hey, why are you leaving at 5:30?
Yeah, no, they were okay with that.
Uh-huh.
But it's such a simple question. My boss asked me, he said, "What does Jordana want?" Like, when does,
it's a good
what
question.
A question.
Yeah.
Right? And he asked me, I remember exactly where we were. We were sitting on these black leather couches by the coffee bar at the agency, and I was burnt out, and there was just more work getting piled on. And he asks me that question, and I blurted out that I wanted to run a wellness center in Costa Rica. I'd never even been to Costa Rica.
So that just came out of the blue into your brain? You didn't have any sort of pre-thoughts about Costa Rica?
No. Or wellness center. I don't know if I'd ever even been to a wellness center.
Uh-huh. How did he take that?
He looked at me like I was an alien. And then he said, if Jordana wants to run a wellness center in Costa Rica, then Jordana should go run a wellness center in Costa Rica. What are you doing here? And I freaked out because I wanted my 6-figure salary and my security and my lovely New York City apartment. And I don't know where those words came from. So I retraced my words and I said, I'm sorry, I'm really stressed. I didn't mean to say that. I would like to work on Nike running.
Okay. So you backtracked.
Yeah, I backtracked because I was freaked out.
Sure.
And he said, okay, great. So glad, because that makes things easier for him. He doesn't want to lose me. I was a
Yeah.
workhorse.
Sure.
And so I continued, and I didn't think that much about that for a while, for a long time. But you know what I think happens is that I think that we all have what I call spiritual practices. And we may not consider ourselves spiritual, but even taking a moment of pause, a moment just to yourself, even if it's 1 minute, that to me is a moment of spirituality. Anything that brings you back to you, even if it's going for a run, it could be, heck, it could be enjoying your favorite beer or glass of wine and really savoring it. That the mindfulness in that brings you back to you is, to me, an act of spirituality. And the more acts of spirituality that we have in our lives, it brings us to a point over time where we take a look at the major components in our life and we say, am I aligned? And maybe we are. And if we are, then that's great. But if we're not, we can either choose to ignore it and to numb that and to say, it's okay, I'm just going to do all of these other things that make me happy, like drink more of this beer or go buy myself something else or go have this adventure, whatever it is. Or we can, take a look at it and we can say, okay, what am I going to do about this? What will bring me into alignment? How can I explore more of what my heart wants on this path? And so for me, I started doing more yoga around that time. And at I think it was maybe 3 years later, I moved to California, which was a big move for me. And in my heart was saying, you don't want to be in New York City anymore. It's too cold here. You don't like this. Go. And in California, I found even more like-minded people who were into going hiking and nature and, being outdoors and enjoying life in different ways than going to a bar and drinking, which is a huge part of city culture, especially New York City. And we would, we'd go sailing on the weekends or we'd go hiking, and these things just more acts of spirituality. And I began my bhakti yoga practice, which is the yoga of devotion. And I came to a point about 2 years before I left my job as an executive producer in advertising, where I realized that I wasn't aligned. And I knew it. And I knew that that there was some big shift that needed to happen. But at that point, I didn't know what to do. So I dove deeper into my spiritual practice, into my meditation practice, into my gratitude practice. And I found ways of managing my current situation, which actually ended up helping me to be a better manager, funny enough. So I was doing this job and I was doing a pretty good job. And then I actually, by focusing more on people, and I focused more on people because I was focusing more on filling myself up through practices like meditation and gratitude and journaling and yoga, I was able to look at my team and to think about, well, what's driving them and how can I support them more in their careers? And at that point, I created a training program for producers, and I spent most of my time doing that. So I found like other projects outside of just helping to create Super Bowl commercials and running campaigns that filled me up in the job while I was in the job.
Got it.
Before I finally decided to go cold turkey and make a 180, as I say.
How do you get from, I love the concept of like being aligned, and I completely agree with you in that looking inward and asking those questions of ourselves is, is spiritual in a way. It's very, it's recognizing what your mind needs, your body needs, what, sparks your passion, what, keeps your interest, all these things. But to get to a point where you can ask yourself, am I aligned? There's got to be, I guess this is a question to you, isn't there work needs to be done to understand actually what you want, right? Because what I find is a lot of times myself or people I've experienced, there's a disconnect between our bodies and our minds, and we aren't doing the work to really understand where we are at emotionally, mentally, why we're there. I think like there's a lot of work. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like there would be a lot of work on that front to get to the point to be able to like fully, properly answer the question of, am I aligned?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really great point and great question. Absolutely. And I work with my clients on this, in transition coaching, figuring out like what's speaking. Is it fear that's speaking? Is it love that's speaking? And it's something, it definitely happens over time, being able to answer that question of, am I aligned? Because maybe today I feel aligned and tomorrow I don't. So what does the overall picture look like? And there's a lot of different ways that you can come to that question, but really it's a practice every day of reflection. And for me, that was a big part of it, was writing, journaling every day, doing, do you know the practice of morning pages?
Yes. Yeah. I have friends that do that.
Yeah. So morning pages was really helpful for me. And I also I've been doing self-coaching, which is to record voice memos and speak to myself as if I'm coaching myself.
Okay.
And what's funny about that, what I love about it, is that when you're recording, there's this drive to speak it out. And it's similar to writing it out, but it's another avenue of getting to a similar place where you have to actually speak the stuff that's spinning around in your mind. And we will keep spinning around in our minds unless we get it out. So even though there's no one listening, the fact that it's being recorded, you're getting it out. So reflection in one of those ways. I also, I took some emotional intelligence courses that supported me. And there's an exercise that I do with clients where we do like life design and life mapping. So taking a look at the deepest desires, meditating into what those deep desires are, and then trying to map a life around that and taking a look at what does that look like? How does that feel? And being with that for a time. Not just saying, okay, I got it. Let's go. Let's run out the door. There's another practice in Vedanta, which is the philosophy of the Vedas, where to find your life's purpose, quote unquote, you wake up every morning sometime between 4 and 6, and you write out everything that you loved doing as a child, everything that you've loved about past jobs that you've had, and you do this every day for about a week, and without looking at the previous pages, and then you find the similarities between, and like what's the same, and what's a theme, and that's another way of getting a hint about it. And so when you get those hints about it, and you're taking a look at, okay, I've got this data from, this exercise, I've done this life mapping, and I've tried on like what my dream life might feel like, just, in a visualization, and I've been doing reflection either through the, voice memos, or maybe I'm doing it with a coach or a counselor or writing. Take a look at all of those things, and then you can ask yourself, am I aligned?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What kinds of things like would you write in your morning pages, or say in your self-coaching?
Yeah. The self-coaching would come about mostly when I'm frustrated
Okay.
or just feeling like I need, like the frustration is because I don't ever really want to put frustration on someone else, on a friend or a family member. Sometimes I do, I'm human, but I try to work it out on my own. I try to talk through it because I know that I can. I know that it's not permanent. And so in my self-coaching, it usually starts from a place of frustration, and I talk through it, and I look at all angles of the frustration until I get to a place of peace. And sort of looking at like what's underlying all of that. Where's that tension coming from? That was a lot of what I got in the
Yeah.
self-coaching. And then in the morning pages, a lot of, desires would come up, or how I wanted to feel, or things that I wanted to do. And there were a lot of things that I wanted to do. And that was a moment as well, because sitting in a beautiful windowed office, and those windows don't open. And there's so much that I want to do outside of those windows that don't open. I thought, well, I know what's inside of this fishbowl, but I don't know what's out there.
And you want to know.
I wanted to know. And for me, it was, I took a little bit of a bigger leap of faith than I would recommend to anyone. That's me. I am quite bold in that way, but also I set myself up to be able to do it.
Sure.
I'm quite resourceful, and I also had savings from, working for over a decade. The kinds of jobs that I was working, I was smart about money, and I created a plan for myself around money and supporting myself, so that I knew that I also didn't want to be a backpacker. That's not my thing either. I'm not going to stay in $2 hostels. It's not that I won't stay in, cheap places. I have.
Sure.
and I've enjoyed it and not enjoyed it, but that I wanted to have more balance. And so like, I looked at that and I planned that in advance before I left my job for the great unknown.
Let's talk about that, the great unknown. So walk me through leaving your corporate job to the year up until the point you are now. Like what did that look like?
Yeah. Well, at first it was just, I was so happy.
Yeah.
It was,
I bet it was very freeing.
It was so freeing. And also at times I was lonely. I didn't know what to do in the first, couple of weeks, thinking I was missing my team. I felt like I needed a project. Like something had been taken away from me.
Sure.
But I remember doing a lot of writing and a lot of morning practice those days, and that supported me in getting through it. But then I also did what we do, which is we add distractions to our lives. And really, I like to say that everything in our lives, it's all a distraction. From like even yoga is a distraction, but we can choose wisely which distractions are going to help us understand ourselves more, and which are going to distract us from understanding ourselves more. But I chose a distraction of remodeling my house.
Okay. Yeah.
So I spent about 2.5 months having to be in Los Angeles and oversee the construction on the new floors, the new bathroom, et cetera, et cetera. While I was doing that, I was working on, I started a company within, I think, 3 months of quitting, which isn't really what I wanted to do, but I was given an opportunity. I interviewed for an opportunity to speak at eBay's sellers conference in Las Vegas. And whenever something like that comes up where it's a speaking engagement, I always go for it even if it's a small workshop, or in this case, it was a big conference, I go for it because I think, why not? Why not me? Why don't I try to stretch myself with this?
Hmm.
And in interviewing for it, I got it. And they wanted me to talk about social media for entrepreneurs as a social media expert. And I had been the executive producer for social media at my agency, but now I was just the girl who quit her job. So I had to make it look a little better. So I started my own company, Reim Media Group, so that I would be able to get clients from the conference and work with them one-on-one on their social media plans. So it was kind of funny that I sort of backwards engineered that. And and I spoke at that conference, and that was huge. So it was an amazing experience for me. And then I started doing social media strategy. And that was something that I was doing for a while.
Okay, hold on, back up. So
Sorry.
no. This is all very fascinating. I'm deeply curious. So you quit your big, huge job, and then you're in LA and you're remodeling your home.
Yeah.
And then you start a company, but wasn't the impetus for quitting your job to I guess, I mean, what was the impetus, I guess, to quit?
It was freedom to do what I wanted to do, and to be my own boss, and to explore other sides of me. And I think that, part of doing the social media strategy was fear, because I was fearful of not making ends meet.
Yeah.
And not being able to pay my mortgage, and maybe I wasn't ready for the big travel yet. But I ended up spending most of that year like going to things that I wanted to go to. I went to Burning Man. I went to Bhakti Fest and Shakti Fest and Lightning in a Bottle, and I went to Summit at Sea, Summit Series. I went to just a lot of really inspiring gatherings while I was doing this work.
Amazing.
And
it sounds amazing.
At the same time, it was awesome. I started actually teaching private yoga as well.
In LA?
And in LA, I was doing that. And then I led 2 yoga retreats in Joshua Tree, California.
Oh, I love Joshua Tree.
It's such a magical place, isn't it?
It is. I like the yucca plant, and it makes me think of Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss, the greatest poet, really.
Indeed, I agree.
Yeah.
So you're at eBay. You're landing clients?
Yeah, I was getting clients, but I was also quite frustrated with the process of landing clients. I realized that I didn't like pitching myself for social media work because most clients didn't want to pay what I wanted to charge.
Sure.
And I realized, I'm like, well, why do I want to charge so much? Maybe because I don't totally love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm doing something that I don't love doing. So that was a big sort of clue for me. And I got to this point after the retreats. This was in December of 2016, that I needed to choose something else. I wanted to choose, and I wanted to, whatever it was. And at that moment, there was a couple from my neighborhood that came to me and said, we would really love to rent out your house for 6 months. Ours is under construction, and yours is so beautiful and in this perfect neighborhood. Can we work something out? And isn't that just this sign from the universe? Because my big weight on my shoulders is that I was paying my mortgage every month.
Sure.
It's a lot of money in Santa Monica, California. And so I was hustling for these jobs because even though I had savings, I didn't want to spend my savings. I was telling myself, you're not spending your savings. You've got to make the money. And they offered to they paid my whole mortgage plus quite a bit more. And so I thought, okay, where do I want to go? This is it.
Because
Where are you going to?
you were living at that house at the time, right?
Yeah, I was living there.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that the universe was saying burden is going to be lifted off of your shoulders. So what do you want to do? And so I did about a week long, practices of meditation and reflection and searching. And I came to India. that was it. I said, I want to go to India and I want to learn. And so then I pursued, getting my 10-year visa in San Francisco, visiting with my sister and family. I spent the next 6 weeks making sure that I, saw them and spent some quality time. And then I left for India. And at the same time, I started interviewing for that job that I thought was going to be my happy ending.
Uh-huh.
But that's not how it went. And I'm so glad that I did spend that time, seeing my sister and my family, because now it's been a year and much has been learned on this journey and many things have changed to get me to this point where I am doing the things that I love.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what you've been, and you're in Thailand now, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm in Thailand.
So what are you, talk about some of the things that you're doing in Thailand now.
Yeah. So in Thailand, I am teaching meditation regularly. I'm working with clients one-on-one in helping them set up meditation practices, as well as doing life transition coaching. I use meditation and creative visualization in that coaching, but a lot of it as well can be other modalities, even just talking and working on goal setting and mapping. I am helping the Wellness and Detox Center with content because I'm also a writer and really good at translating stories into mediums that consumers like to digest. And I do Skype coaching as well with clients from around the world. I'm leading a retreat that's not here in Thailand, but I'm working on promoting the retreat while I'm in Thailand. The retreat's in Nepal, and it's all about transformation as we go trekking through Annapurna. So those are some of the things that I'm doing here in Thailand. Really just learning and living what I call 360 wellness, being well in all areas of our lives so that we can give back to others from a place of abundance and fulfillment.
When people come to you for some of these practices, meditative, where are they coming from emotionally? Like what are some sort of needs that they're looking for or gaps that they're looking to fill?
Yeah, it's all different. A lot of people who come to me have never meditated before. So sometimes they're afraid of meditating. And so it's getting to the root of where is that fear coming from? What are we afraid to look at? And then realizing that, realizing what parts of that are true and what parts of that are not true. Or I like to say, where's the truth in it and where's the crazy in it? And letting them identify that, because there's truth, there's wisdom in every fear. It's not all bad, right? So there's something in it. There's something in it for us to grow. So a lot of it's working through what parts of it do we want to keep and what parts of it don't serve us. So there's a lot of that because we want to think about moving forward. It's always about, moving forward in our lives because we're actually almost always in a place of transition because, as you say, this pale blue dot, right?
Yeah.
That is the big, it's this unknown. I mean, it's a pale blue dot and we think everything is so important and that things are absolute, but nothing is. And I think that's the underlying trouble for all of us, is that we don't really know. So how can we find more peace with the not knowing?
Yeah, it is funny how we do grasp onto that, the not knowing, and how it can become such a point of just frustration and fear and true anxiety for a lot of people. But I firmly believe that if we can get to a place where we accept the sort of what you're talking about, the sort of perpetual transitioning, the change, I think what it's about is ultimately is control. We as humans want to control so much, and from my perspective, there's very little we can control, and accepting that, I think, can make huge impacts in our lives and the way we move forward in our lives.
Yeah, you're so right about that. And a lot of the practice as well that I work with clients on is that when it comes to control, I mean, really, it's just ourselves, right? And what can we take responsibility for in our lives? And the more that you can take responsibility for in your life, the more you'll feel that you have a sense of control over your life. Things are not happening to you, they're happening for you, and you're creating everything in your life. So looking at it from that perspective, I've found with myself and with others that that's a really helpful practice.
Yeah, I like that. When your clients come to you, are some of them dealing with mental health issues, anxiety, depression, PTSD, anything of that sort?
I think anxiety and stress is a big one for clients that I see. I haven't worked with anyone who is clinically depressed. In a sense, like I don't feel qualified to, because I don't have a background in psychology.
Sure.
And it's quite close to my heart, because it's a lot. It runs in my family. Depression runs in my family, and like specifically in my immediate family, and I know how serious it is, and I know how debilitating it can be. And it's something that, that I get to work through in my relationships with, people in my family. And I don't feel like I've conquered it at all. And so because of that, I don't feel qualified to, work on an ongoing basis with someone who's battling depression. I mean, teaching them meditation or being a meditation guide, of course, I will do that. I also do something called water nidra therapy, which is a meditation heart opening practice that I do with clients in the water. That I would do that with a client and I have done that with clients with PTSD and depression. But coaching clients with PTSD or depression is not something that I feel equipped to manage.
Yeah, I wasn't, assuming, or I wasn't presuming that you were treating those, clinical illnesses. I was just, I think, making the point that, meditation, yoga, these practices have been scientifically proven to help people who have clinical depression in some respects, or have anxiety or PTSD in some cases. So that's all I was saying.
Oh yeah. I'm always like, so I'm like super touchy on that one because of my family.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
But yeah, absolutely. Like the studies show that it's meditation. The root of meditation is medicine. right? This is medicine that we can self-administer and we want. And it doesn't take more than 3 breaths, 3 deep conscious breaths to shift from a place of stress and anxiety where we can't be creative to a place where we can, and literally it's brain science, right? That we can't utilize our cerebral cortex where ideas come from, where decision making, critical thinking comes from, creativity comes from, if we're stuck in anxiety and stress, because then we're in what's called the fight or flight mode, which is, coming from the amygdala part of the brain. But scientific studies show that it's 3 breaths, which takes less than a minute for us to settle down and be able to be in a new space. And so I love that practice as well. Sometimes on my, I'll go on Instagram Live, and the first thing I say is, stop scrolling. We're going to take 3 deep breaths together. And then that's all I do, because, we don't have the attention span often or quote unquote, the time for these 20 minutes. I have to say, no, you don't. Just 3 breaths. That's all.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, I lost my train of thought for a second there.
You want to take 3 deep breaths?
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay. So first, just get really comfortable in your seat and sit up tall. What's important is that your spine is straight, that your spine can feel both like it can root down into the earth and then rise up towards the sky.
Okay.
You'll roll the shoulders back, and you'll just take 2 normal inhales and exhales. Don't change anything at all. And then we're going to take 3 really big inhales. So inhaling from the belly, feeling the breath rise all the way up, opening up the chest, holding it, and then exhaling, sighing out the mouth. And then 2 more. Inhaling from the belly, feeling it rise, holding it, and sighing out the mouth. 1 more. Biggest inhale you've taken all day. Filling up the belly. You got this. Inhale. Chest expands. Holding it. Holding it. And let out a sigh.
All right.
And then come back.
I like it. I used to, I don't know if you've listened to the show at all, but I've mentioned maybe once, I used to write the word breathe on my hand as a teenager, and it sort of stuck as a habit, just writing it on my hand for many, many years, because I found myself reminding myself to breathe was very helpful for me, and it has been for decades. And so how much do I owe you now? Just kidding.
For you, nothing.
All right.
Anytime you want to breathe with me, you just call me.
Sounds good. So the question I have for you is, for my listeners, maybe some of you guys, are new to meditation, yoga, and you want to get into it. Jordana, do you have any sort of getting into those practices tips? Because I think for some it and I can just speak for myself, it can be maybe a little overwhelming. I think there's a mystery to meditation and yoga. There's also a lot of, stigma around it. And so what are some sort of like intro tips that you'd give?
I love that you said the word mystery.
Yeah.
Sounds really exciting.
It is.
Yeah. And actually that, like, I would say to approach it with a sense of curiosity and childlike wonder, and that there's something for you. So having that mindset makes it more fun. But on a practical level, in terms of getting started, it's a good practice to commit to a time of day that you can, give some time to it, and decide what your level of time commitment is going to be. It doesn't need to be, they say 20 minutes, but it doesn't need to start at 20 minutes. Maybe it starts at 4 minutes and you can work your way up. So when are you going to take those 4 minutes? So number one, committing to a time of day and, a time commitment that is reasonable for you. I think it's also a great idea to set up a space in your home or, wherever you plan to be meditating that feels calm, that feels zen, and that symbolizes this is a time for me to shift into another mindset. So whether it's a chair you really like or a cushion you really like, a corner of the room you like, I tell my clients to, maybe light a candle or an incense so that it's special, so it's different. That can help you get into that mindset. And then in terms of the practice, working with a single pointed meditation following the breath is really easy, a really easy way to get in. Buddhists have a meditation like this called shamatha, which is a single point of focus on the breath. So just watching the breath rise and fall. I would say experiment with a lot of different kinds and see what works for you, because there is everything from this seated meditation to, I teach a lot of active moving meditations. Dance is a meditation for one. Conscious dance is meditation. There's a meditation I teach where you're laughing for 25 minutes.
What?
Yeah.
You're just like putting on Bill Murray movies, or?
Yeah, it's I learned a lot of these active meditations through Osho, who's an Indian mystic, and he believed in the active meditation as a way of first, working through the body to then find stillness in the mind. And the laughing meditation, it is really something, because have you ever tried to laugh for 25 minutes?
No. That sounds
Right.
exhausting.
It's actually, you sweat.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But what's amazing about, not to get off topic, but what I love about this meditation is what keeps you going in the laughing, because you're not watching Bill Murray movies. There's music playing, but you're with yourself and the music, and you keep going with the laughing. And at first maybe you're thinking of a Bill Murray movie to get you started.
Sure.
But the Bill Murray movie never lasts. It always goes to something else, something deeper within you that brings you that joy and that laughter. And so being the witness to what that is, for me, is a huge light bulb. Oh my gosh. Wow. I didn't know that. I was so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for this thing that I'm laughing. I'm in such joy. I'm celebrating. So that's a fun one. So experimenting with different types of meditation and committing to that time, having that space, and doing it every day, committing to doing it every day, because it does compound over time, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great tips. I just wanted to mention a couple. I reached out to our Facebook group. Miriam mentioned that she uses the Stop, Breathe, Think app, which I think is a meditation app. I wasn't familiar with it either, but she says it works well for her. Jessie on Twitter had mentioned that she uses playlists for meditation.
Mm-hmm.
So she has like specific playlists of music, Segura Ross, Max Richter, and Bal Maria, a couple of musicians that she likes to listen to for meditation.
So great to do meditation with music as well. Or mantra, right? That's another like kind of easy practice. I love Krishna Das for that.
What's
he
that?
does. Krishna Das is an artist. You can find him on Spotify.
Okay.
And he does kirtan, but it's just, I don't even know. Like the music penetrates your soul. And you can start by sitting and listening and allowing yourself to just really focus on breath. And then you'll begin to hear the mantras, and there'll be a call and response. And you can start to sing if you feel so inclined to sing. And most of his tracks will build in momentum, and then you can start to dance and celebrate. So that's a really nice way to go as well. If you find that might be your speed of meditation.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Finding an artist like that. Yeah, it's really fun. It's really cool to just like you get outside of yourself when you are chanting mantra or when you're dancing and chanting mantra too at the same time. Really good.
Isn't that ideally what it's about, or part of it is getting outside of ourselves?
Yeah.
Because
100%.
Right? I mean, because there's so much, we're just always in our heads so much, and we're constantly putting this pressure on ourselves, or just self-importance, or whatever it may be, and finding practices that get us out of that. Like, it's humbling, it's accepting the change, it's growing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not taking things so personally.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's when we identify ourselves only by this body vehicle that we're borrowing for this span of a couple of decades, then our lives are small. But when we can get outside of this vehicle and see that we're connected to so much more, and that we're who we really are, who I really am, is the witness of this beautiful life that Jordana body vehicle is living, then I can live it with more play, with more joy, and celebrate that I get to do what I'm doing.
Yeah. I like that you say vehicle. It's a much better word for the word that was in my head, which is meat wagon. That's a much grosser sort of visualization for what we're in. But
can we please say veggie wagon, because I'm vegan?
Yes, absolutely, veggie wagon.
Veggie wagon.
Yeah.
Veggie wagon vehicle.
Yeah, that works.
Those are both good.
Yeah, that works. I like it. Well, as we start to wrap up, there's a section of the show we always sort of wrap up with calling out our empathy heroes. So this is a person in your life, or someone, even fictional, that you've experienced in literature or what have you. Someone in your life that has affected you, who is doing the good work of being a vulnerable, compassionate, empathetic human. Is there an empathy hero in your life?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is my sister. My older sister, Aviva, is my empathy hero. She is such a strong woman and is going through so much in her life, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and yet is still so articulate with her thoughts and her words and her compassion and her love. And, even though I don't like to hear what she has to say a lot of the times, she's always coming with love, and it's from where she stands, right? And I might not agree with where she stands. And so that's sort of a point of, I don't want to read it because I don't agree with it, but she means the best, right? And she's just coming from love, and she's dealing with a lot of circumstances that, I've never had to manage myself. And so she's a hero to me. She's such a hero, and she always has been my entire life. She's been like a second mother to me because she's loved me that much. So it's definitely my sister Aviva.
Awesome. That's beautiful. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful question and opportunity as well for me to recognize my sister, because we are not that it's like we say that we're very close and yet we're not that close, and it's this like dance between like, how can we, as we grow older, continue our relationship in a new way that works for us as things ebb and flow, and different emotions and circumstances become our realities.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like that a lot. My empathy hero this week is
You have a new one each week. You're so cool.
I
my
do.
Gosh.
I have a new one each week.
What a great idea.
Yep. I know. I will never run out of them.
Who is it? This is so cool.
So it's a person that I don't know at all, but her name's Marty Noxon, and she did a lot of writing on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and she's done a lot of TV writing over the years. But she wrote and directed a film that came out, I think early last year, 2017 or maybe 2016. I think 2017. It's called To the Bone, and it's on Netflix right now. And it's a story about an anorexic, and it's a very beautifully acted and well written picture and depiction of eating disorders, anorexia specifically, and bulimia. And it's not something you ever see on screen, those types of things. And it does it very elegantly and beautifully. And as most of the listeners know, I had a bout of anorexia in my late teens and early 20s myself. And so it hits me in the heart in that way. And so I just wanted to call out her, Marty Noxon, for bringing that story to the screen. Yeah.
Nice. Marty Noxon. I'm gonna check that out. That's amazing.
Yeah. The movie's called To the Bone. Yeah, it's really good.
You're right. It's definitely something that we don't see enough of, that kind of vulnerability on the screen. So.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, Jordana, I know you're working on a lot of things. You have the Nepal trek. Where can people connect with you and learn about the Nepal trek and just learn about all the goodness that you're doing?
Yeah, thank you. Jordana.love is my website. And you can learn about doing Skype sessions with me there, or water nidra with me on Jordana.love. Jordana.love/Nepal has all of the details for trekking and transformation, which is going to be going on this May. We'll be using the power of yoga nidra practice to dive into our subconscious minds and consciously be the witness of that. While we're trekking through Annapurna. And then on Instagram, I do daily Instagram stories. My handle is @JordanaIsYoga. I'm a little bit silly on there, but hopefully people can laugh with me in those stories. And then my posts are maybe a bit more serious, and I put some of my writing into those posts. I break all of the social media rules about long bits of text, but I find that it works for me. So in all of those ways, I absolutely love connecting with people online. It's been really fun for me to do those Instagram stories through my travels and to hear from different people from around the world and share stories of transitions and transformation and traveling and love and I'd be so honored and excited if people who listen to this wonderful podcast also connect with me there.
Yeah, and absolutely. I second that, and I'll make sure to include all the links to those in the show notes. Well, Jordana, thank you so much for being on You, Me, Empathy.
Thank you for having me. Really a heart-opening, beautiful way for me to start my day. So, as so much gratitude.
Oh, very happy to hear that. And the last thing I will say, as I always do, is I'm here, you're here, we're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring pale blue dot. We have each other. It's You, Me, Empathy.